Welcome. This week we're getting ready to go over lessons 89 through 92. So this is the last part of the three phrases that we really shouldn't be saying to our children. We've talked about the phrase not using "this is so easy." We've also talked about the phrase "you're so smart." Well, this week I'd like to talk about the phrase "you should already know that." I had a child who would learn something well, know it the first day, come back at it again the next day or the third day, and it was like a total blank. Like, you already know this. It didn't help. It didn't help him at all. So, the thing about "you should already know this" is that when you have children who are struggling, and some of you are homeschooling for the first time, those of you that have been homeschooling your children a couple years or even from the beginning, yeah, you would know for sure if they should know this or not. But those of you that are homeschooling for the first time and your children have sat under other teachers, honestly, you don't know. You don't know if they should know this. Maybe they should, but maybe it wasn't taught enough that they really grasped the concept. Maybe it was overlooked. I don't know. I moved a lot when I was a kid. I'm sure there are some gaps there because one school taught a certain thing and then the next school taught a different thing, and I missed some stuff. That could happen. So we need to be really careful about those words we're using. One of the reasons she says this, and remember, this is an article by Rachel Furman. She says this: by saying "you should already know this," it is reaffirming a student's thought that they will never be good at math, but also places blame on students for something that may not be their fault. And that's the big thing right there. Some children have learning difficulties. I have children with learning difficulties. When you don't know any better and you get frustrated and you're saying, "Oh, you should know this because we just went over this yesterday," it's not helpful. It really isn't helpful. Here's the key, or here's the goal. We're parents, but we're also their teachers. And we want to develop in them a love of learning. Doesn't mean they have to learn it really fast. My kids are slow processors when it comes to math. They can get it, it takes them a little while. But I want to encourage them and build up that confidence. And working with my granddaughter right now, she's fifth grade. We just started level C. I got through B and now we're starting level C, and she struggles. She's struggling with things that I think, "You should know this." But guess what? She's building confidence. I went over some things with her the other day and I gave her some work to do. And she called me the next day and she's like, "Grandma, I don't understand what I'm supposed to do. I forgot." And I went over it with her and I broke it down real basic and then I kind of built it up, and she was doing fine. She wasn't quick, but she was doing it, but she needed to be reminded. It reminds me a lot of my son. They learn something and then easy to forget. Some kids are like that. So I worked with her and I told her, I said, and she's been in school, public school, for up till fifth grade. And I told her, I said, "Listen, if you are really confused or you don't really like this and you want to go back to doing it the way you know, we can do that." And she told me no. Really kind of surprised me. She said she likes being able to do it mentally. She likes learning to do it this way. So that encouraged me too. But we have to take it slow, and I mean slow. Do what you got to do. My biggest thing is I want her to have confidence in what she's doing, and I want her to have a love of the subject. This article ends with this sentence. It's such a great sentence. I'm going to read it straight from the paper. "The way we speak to our children/students has an immense impact. And small changes to what we say can make that impact a positive one. So last week, the big focus was on twos, odds and evens. And I mentioned at the end of last week that this week we're going to have a little bit of what I call a brain break. We're going to not do as much of the computation. There will be a little for review, but the lessons are going to be more geometry based. And it's kind of nice because it gives your child's brain time to process. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes when I get all sorts of input, my brain hurts and I need to step back and I need to go do something to kind of just get it back to stop hurting. And then, I kind of think about this stuff, but it's not just like boom, boom, boom right there. And so when you come back at it, you're refreshed, you're relaxed. And believe it or not, some kids who may have struggled at the beginning, it actually starts to click and make more sense. Let's look at the materials that you'll need this week before we get started. This will be a shocker, but this week we do not have the abacus in our list of materials. However, it's always good to have the abacus handy in case they need it during warm-up or playing games. You're going to need the calculator. Now this comes in the kit. It's the Casio calculator, your worksheets, the math card game book, tiles, and some Post-it notes, or it could be index cards. You'll see why we'll need them when we get to the lesson. You'll need the multiplication cards in their envelopes, so sorted and put into the envelopes, the geometry solids, a flashlight, and dry erase board. And then lastly, look over here to the left. I almost forgot these, but you'll need your basic number cards as well as the dot cards. That's from the appendix. Lesson 89, working with a calculator. This is a fun lesson. And I know the calculator is one of those words. Now, maybe, you guys are younger than I am. I come a little bit more old school. But when you mentioned a calculator, we're like, oh, a calculator. Oh no, my child's not going to use a calculator. Seriously, that's the mindset we had. However, I have since changed my mindset. And if you kind of feel that way too, don't. It's so important for your children to get comfortable using a calculator. In a higher math, they're going to be using a calculator. When they go and take the SAT and the ACT, guess what? They get to use a calculator. And it's important that they know and are comfortable with using one. My boys, I would not let them use a calculator, even into high school math. And then when they went to take the ACT, oh, I saw my error. Yeah. So then they got to learn how to use a calculator. And even though they could do the problems, learning how to do it on the calculator was a little bit more of a struggle for them because they weren't comfortable or familiar with the calculator. But made a big difference on doing those kind of tests. So all that to say, enjoy this lesson. It's a fun one. Learn some new things about the calculator. One of the things it starts off with is introducing the calculator to them. So I have the calculator right here. This is the one we recommend. It's a Casio. Let me push AC, it'll show 0. This is solar fed, so you have to have a light source for it to work. It could be a light like a lamp. It could be light from the window. Let them play around with it. It talks about learning intuitively. Learning intuitively is a good thing. Basically what it's doing is it's taking things that they know, going beyond that. What would happen if I do this? What would happen if I do that? That's all it means by learning intuitively, and that's an important thing to be able to do. There's a number in here and you want it cleared, just hit AC. And here it tells us to hit 1 and then plus twice. And then look, every time I hit equal, look, it just counts. If I want to do 50, I could just push in 50. I don't clear anything and hit equal. Look, 51, 52, 53. If I want to do 69, look, 71, 72. So you hit the clear. Let's press 2 plus plus. And look, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Say you ask them, what's 34? And they say, the answer is 36. Well, let's double check. How cool is that? And that's how we do the calculator and Right Start. A lot of it is we're going to learn how to use the keys, but then they're going to use it to reinforce what they already know. The game for this is add 1 or 2. It is the game it's game A13 in your math card game book. If you would get that and turn to it and open it, then I can explain better how it's played. All right, are you there? So look down at A13, add 1 or 2. It says for the manipulatives, you could use the AL abacus or the dot cards if needed. What you're going to do is you're going to take your basic number card deck. You're going to use about half of the deck, take out all the 10s, shuffle them around. Everybody gets 4 cards. And then the person who goes next, usually we say like whoever's left of the dealer, or you could be right of the dealer, is going to lay down a card. Then the next player is either going to lay down a card in that row or start a new row. Now, how do you get to lay a card down in that row? Well, this game is add 1 or 2. So you could add 1 or 2 to the number that got laid down. So here's the example. We have number 9. That's on the top row. Then you see 1. Well, if you add 2 to 9, what do you get? You get 11. Now, the unique thing about Right Start games is we'll put the card down that's in the 1's place, and we're going to disregard the 10's place. That's why it can be a little confusing when you're looking at these cards, like, how do you get the 1 there? It's because it's representing 11. And then if you notice the 3, same thing. If you have 11 and you add 2 to it, you get 13. Now, if you have a child who really struggles with this, feel free, if you want to get a piece of paper or another sticky note or something, and put a 1 there to make 11. And same with 13, if that helps. But if your child understands, then play it this way. It just makes it easier because you don't have the basic number card deck with 11 and 12 and 13, and there's only so many 1s that come in that deck. So in order for this to work, that's why they play it this way. If you look at the second row, it starts with the 4. And you can see, well, they added 2 to the 4. And then they added 2 to the 6. And then notice the bottom row, it's 8. And then you have 9. So that row is plus 1. Here's the thing. When you start a row and you put like plus 2, like the 9 plus 2 is 11. Every card that gets laid down after that has to be a plus 2 card. The player who adds the 3rd card to a row is the winner. So on that first row, that's the 3rd card. You have 9 plus 2 is 11. 11 plus 2 is 13. Whoever laid down the 3 will get to take all the cards. And you continue playing. And if you can't add 1 or 2, you don't have a card that you could lay down, then you start a new row. And then it says that the game is over when the stock is exhausted. I say it could be over when mom is exhausted. I don't know. 10 to 15 minutes of playing a game is equivalent to doing a worksheet. And I know that sometimes getting those games in can be hard. But if you can find that 10 to 15 minutes, these games are huge, huge, huge in helping children not just learn their facts, but they're applying strategy. Learning to apply strategy, that is. Lesson 90, arranging from greatest to least. This is where you'll use the tiles and those note cards. Now the note cards are to put it in order. So you could say, write blue, green, red, and yellow. You'll write that on the note card. Some children may not be able to read, so you may just want to put a big red square for red and write red, so they're familiar with seeing the word blue, yellow and green. You could do that, or write that color with the color. Lots of options. But just make sure your children understand what it means. And then they're just going to sort. They're going to take big handfuls of tile. They're going to sort them by colors. One of the notes to you to the side is letting you know that one of the ways that children can really understand the greatest quantity is to organize numerical information into visual form. So you can eyeball this big pile of tiles and you could take a good guess, but you're not going to know until you get it organized. And if you notice, when they're placing the tiles under the colors, we're doing them in groups of 2. And this way it also reinforces the evens and the odds. And again, it will help to reinforce when they're working on side 2 of the abacus. And I want to point something out on the second page where the title is changing a group. So you're going to have your child, like here it says, take 11 tiles and lay them out where they're easily counted. Range them in 2s. You know, you'll have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and then one more for 11. And then it says, ask the child to change it to 13 tiles. Now, here's the thing. You as a parent, don't say anything. You just watch to see how they do this. Do they just add 2 more tiles to the pile? Or do they take all the tiles away and then count them all out again? This is important to observe because it's helping you to see if your child's understanding this pattern or not. And if they're not, it's okay. You can help point it out, and then they'll have more times to practice. The game for this lesson is N44, which is sets in order. This is where those multiplication cards in their envelopes are needed. So like I have mine all in here. They've all been separated. And I'm just going to, I'm going to start off with something easier with my child as we're playing this game. So here, we're going to do the 2s. We're going to pull the 2s out. We're going to shuffle them. Then they're going to have to put them in order. So they'll just flip a card over, or you could lay the cards out, however you want to do it. There really doesn't say how to do this, but they now have to take their cards and put them in order. Remind them if they need to that you're doing the 2, so they're going to start with a 2. If they need to use their abacus, let them use the abacus. If they need to look at the front of the envelope, let them use the envelope. But really challenge them first to try to do it without the envelope. So we have 2. What comes after 2? This is by 2s. And, this one is going to be by 10s. So you probably want to start off with some of these easier ones. And then if they want more of a challenge, ask them, and then you can go and do some different numbers. Lesson 91, the round geometric solids. So this lesson and in some continuous lessons, we're going to do some work with the geometric solids. You're going to give them their solids, they're going to explore, and then you're going to have them take out all the rounded solids. Your child's going to discover some of the attributes to these solids. They're going to go roll some things, see how they roll. They're going to learn some new terms. Now, here's the thing. In Right Start, this is something they're going to learn all throughout the levels. This is not something they have to have mastered. If you have a child that struggles a little bit with this, it's okay. Enjoy these lessons. Just have fun with these lessons. You get to shine a flashlight on a wall to kind of project the shadows of the solids. These are those kind of lessons I just really enjoy because they're just kind of fun. They don't require tons and tons of thinking, but they're learning. Last lesson for this week, lesson 92, more geometric solids. Now in this lesson, they're going to work with all the solids that are not rounded. They're going to learn some new names, new terminology. Again, nothing that they have to have memorized or mastered. This is an introduction. They'll be working with greatest and least using these solids in this lesson, kind of reinforcing some skills or some things that they know, but applying it in a little bit of a different way. Because these lessons, I think they're going to go fairly quick. You will have more time to put in if you want to do a game. So have a few games on standby in areas where it could really be good to strengthen what your child is learning. So maybe it's the 100 squares. You want to do that again and working with odds and evens. Maybe you want to play go to the dump. Pick a game that your child will enjoy, but also that they could use a little bit more work on. All right, we're done. This is I guess I could say, I want to say like a gentle week. It's a brain break week. Enjoy it. It's as much of a brain break for you as it is for your kids. Join me next week as we go over lessons 93 through 96. Until then.